Welcome, Clearly Essential team. This is Crystal Garvin. Thank you so much for joining me. I am excited to do this training for you on video that I originally did for the first time in Raleigh at a wellness summit that we had recently. So we've had wellness summits throughout the spring all over the country, and I was honored to be asked to speak, and I had a few different topics to choose from, and I loved this particular topic. So I am excited to share it with you. Let me just minimize my video because I want you to be able to see all of the great content here in the slideshow and learn a little bit about what we talked about in the Wellness Summits. In the leadership portion, this part was actually just for those who are elite and above if you were at the Wellness Summit. So I'm doing this for my whole team though, because I think that it's important to start thinking about leadership earlier on in your business, because even if you're a brand new builder, and I know we have one on the call, you will have a team, you will be a leader, and it's something that's good to start thinking about now, not to intimidate you at all, but just to prepare you that even if you just have one person on your team, you're a leader to that person, even if that person's not a builder yet. These are good things to start to think about. So we're talking about enabling versus empowering. And I just love this topic. I loved the title of it, and it's something that I'm pretty passionate about. I've talked with my leaders about it. I've talked at different elite retreats and things about this, and putting it all together in one presentation was actually really empowering for me, just to kind of narrow down why this is so important and what the difference is. So we'll be talking about training leaders to do their own businesses and to run their own businesses. So this is my family. There is my husband and then my 3 boys, and we are actually at our favorite campground. Well, it was our home-based campground for 2 years at Oak Hollow in High Point, North Carolina, where we now live. So we lived for 2 years on the road, and I'll talk more about that, but we lived in an RV, and whenever we came back to stay, we stayed at Oak Hollow. So it kind of became our home away from home. And I shouldn't have probably said favorite campground. It was just because it was here, but we had a lot of fun experiences and stayed at some amazing places. And so this is my family, and they are a big part of the reason why I believe understanding the difference between enabling and empowering is crucial for anyone who's striving to be a leader and reach their goals in this business, because it's necessary for true time freedom. We have to know the difference between enabling and empowering. So my hope through this is that you'll be inspired to empower others as well, because that's where you experience true duplication in this business. So for me personally, my doTERRA journey started about 4 years ago. It was a bit of a whirlwind at first. I built a diamond in about 1.5 years while homeschooling our 3 boys. My husband was not around much during those days. He had a crazy work schedule. But I loved that phase of my business. It was so much fun. It was just really tiring and exhausting too. And we set an income goal for my husband to quit his job. He walked away from that job the same month that I hit Diamond, November of 2014. Soon after that, we purged our belongings. We moved into an RV, and we lived that way on the road, traveling all over the country to see team members, do classes and training events, and see as many national parks as we could fit in, and see family and friends. And we did that for 2 years. So we had 5 people and a dog living in 400 square feet. And we definitely got that family togetherness and adventure we were seeking while my husband was working 70 hours a week and traveling 2 weeks out of every month. So it was a lot of fun to offer support to my team across the country, a really wonderful experience for us all. But to be honest, it was a little scary to leave the main core of my team here in North Carolina. And I asked them, I knew they were very capable to carry on the education and the training that we had started together. But I'm a bit of a control freak, and I was a little afraid of my core team kind of falling apart without me here. And it did kind of become time for some team members to sink or swim, to rise up and become leaders, or to kind of flounder and realize that they weren't doing this on their own. And that's how I learned that I had been enabling many people far too long, and I began instead to start empowering people. Leaders become great not because of their power, but because of their ability to empower others. You've probably seen this quote before. I think we know it's true in our heads, but I wonder, do we live like we believe it? Do we make ourselves accessible to every user, every sharer, every builder on our team 24/7? Or do we set boundaries that we need to preserve our family time and our personal time? Do we even believe that we deserve boundaries? That's getting a little bit deeper. So let's look at some definitions together. Enable, to make someone be able to do or to be something, to make something easy. Let me back up a second because my background is in English, so I have to be honest and tell you that enable and empower can be used interchangeably as synonyms in certain contexts. However, it's important to know some key differences between these concepts as they relate to leadership specifically. So look at this definition and ask yourself, can I really make someone do or be anything in our business that actually looks like doing something for someone else? So that's the definition of enable. Let's look at empower. To give power to someone, to give official authority to someone. Another definition I looked up and really loved is to promote self-actualization or influence. I love the picture of promoting influence. Imagine having a team of builders who respect your boundaries, who know how to lead their own teams, and who look to you for guidance, inspiration, and encouragement, maybe strategy sessions, but they don't expect you to run their businesses for them. So let's see if this video will work. I think it will.
I feel.
Do you feel alive?
I feel happy of myself.
I feel happy of yourself too. What, do you got any words of wisdom? What about for all the other kids trying to learn how to ride their bike? Can you say anything to them?
Everybody, I know you can believe in yourself. If you believe in yourself, you will know how to ride a bike. If you don't, you just keep practicing. You will get the hang of it, I know it. If you keep practicing, you will get the hang of it, and then you can get better and better at it as you do it.
Give me some thumbs up.
Thumbs up, everybody!
All right.
For rock and roll!
I hope that you're able to hear that video. It's really cute how he starts saying, I feel happy of myself. And that's really what empowering your team feels that way. It feels like you're happy and you know that you're excited and you can go out and empower others to be able to do this business. Just like the little boy was saying, he was able to, encourage others. You can ride your bike too. You can learn to do what I did. So I love that little video as an example of being empowered. Let's talk about what it looks like to enable. To me, the picture I have in my head, because I'm a mom, it's the mom who has 3 fully capable children, but she still washes the dishes all by herself because she thinks the kids aren't big enough, shouldn't have to do chores, might cut themselves on a knife, or maybe even because she knows she can do the job faster and better herself. So it looks like this: giving too much, doing too much, maybe even bribing, coming to the rescue, fixing, lecturing, micromanaging, being the expert, controlling, fear of failure, and keeping all the power. Versus empowering. So that same kind of picture, it's the mom who realizes the value of teaching the children to do chores, even if the process is painful at first, because she needs some freedom and the kids need to learn about hard work and life skills early on. And if you are like that mom, don't think I'm talking about you. This is a true story. My kids learned to do dishes when we moved into an RV and we no longer had a dishwasher. And let me tell you, it was a joy to turn that job over to them. Now that we're in a house again, they're extra thankful to have a dishwasher. They're still doing dishes. But it's something that I just hadn't made them or even really thought to have them start doing because I was just used to doing it myself. So let's look at what it means to empower. Show faith, believe in them, challenge them, set boundaries, listen without fixing, discounting, or judging, remind them of their why, joint problem solve, encourage learning from mistakes, ask for help, set agreements, revisit those agreements, love and support them through their process, and give them the power. So, how do we empower others? We're going to go through these 3 different aspects of empowering. And I want you to kind of think about rating yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. How are you doing? Not to shame yourself or feel guilty in any way, but just an honest assessment so that you can ask yourself how you can improve in your mindset, in your skill set, and how you're using the tool set available to you so that you can know you're on the path to success. Success is 80% mindset and 20% mechanics. That's Tony Robbins. It's cut off a little down there. So our mindset is our belief system. We live from our beliefs, and we can shape our mindset by rejecting faulty beliefs and then replacing those with vision and with goals. What is going on in your mind? The conscious mind only accounts for 10% of what's going on in your thoughts. The other 90% is all subconscious. And you can see here what's kind of going on in your conscious and your subconscious mind. And it asks, do you train your subconscious mind? What does that even look like? Well, an example from my professional life, I had a mentor from several years ago who recommended to me on a mentor call one day that I try out this Jack Canfield, the chicken soup for the soul guy, this little trick he had done for himself and had taught to some other people to show the power of pain. And he actually recommended putting a rubber band on your wrist, and every time you had a negative thought or every time something negative came out of your mouth, you snapped the rubber band. And I thought, well, I'm not that negative of a person. I don't know why she thinks I should do this, but she was like, I just think it's a good thing to do just to, check our negativity. And I'm going to do this with you. Let's do it together. And I didn't realize what she was doing at the time, but it became really apparent when at the end of the first day, my wrist was red and raw. And I realized that even more painful than the actual physical pain was realizing how negative I truly was. And I had to face that. And I continued it up for the entire week, like she had recommended. And I really was tempted to switch it to the other wrist because that wrist was so sore. But it is so interesting how the brain works. And this did help to retrain my subconscious mind. And there are probably less painful ways of doing that. So you can, Google that and see what other things are out there. But this worked for me. And our mind really does register when we feel that pain. And so for me, I started noticing that when I had a negative feeling just kind of starting within me, there was this reflex where it's like, oh, don't go there. Don't even form the negative thought in my mind because then it might come out my mouth and then I have to snap that rubber band. So I started catching myself even before a thought had fully formed in my brain. And I just had a negative feeling and I would stop myself. And so it's something I've returned to at different times when I was struggling with negativity. And that is one way that I've started to train my subconscious mind, and really just the tip of the iceberg for me. But it was the realization I needed and the fuel that I needed to start the process of overcoming negative thinking. Something else that's really powerful is to cultivate the right mindset with positive affirmations. I won't read all of these to you. If you're watching the recording, you can pause this and maybe even take a picture. But some of the ones that stood out the most to me is, I am the type of leader I want to attract. I repel people who are lazy, live in drama, and have excuses. I can rebuild at any time. That's kind of a tough one. I am an inspiring leader who empowers my team. So these are great things to dwell on and to strive toward. And notice how they're all in present tense. So when you are achieving something, you want to start telling yourself and reading these things written out that are in the present tense as if it's already happened, because that does trigger something in your brain where you're saying it's true, so you want to make it true, versus I can enroll leaders who enroll leaders, or I will enroll leaders who enroll leaders. Just leave that present tense verb the way it is. I enroll leaders who enroll leaders. And even if that's not true right now, there is something in your brain that wants to make it true because you're saying it. Another thing you need to think about is that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So think about this. Are these 5 people encouraging you and supporting your vision and your goals? Because along with the right mindset, we need to develop the right atmosphere, the right environment, and telling ourselves the positive affirmations and getting negative thinking out of our mind, but then going into an environment where we're surrounded by negative people, that's going to affect our attitudes and our behavior and even our subconscious mind as well. And it's not to say you have to cut people out of your life completely if they're not positive or if they don't believe in you and your goals, but you want to minimize their influence and start to try to spend more time with those who are the people you want to be like, or the people who are encouraging, the people who do believe in you and your dreams and your goals and are supporting you. So along with the right mindset, we need to develop some good skills and the right skill set. These are just a handful of the most important skills to develop: identifying leaders and personality types, presenting the business opportunity, leadership training, mentorship and accountability, conversational skills, and recognition. Great news about all of these: anyone can learn these skills. And we talk a lot in this business about finding committed and capable leaders. You might even hear it referred to as the CC builder, committed and capable. I would rather have a committed builder who shows up and is solid in their commitment, but maybe needs to grow in capability, than someone who is capable, but not as committed. Why? Well, obviously, because I can help someone increase their skills, but it's much harder to help someone else increase their commitment. So let's break these down a little bit. Leaders. Who are leaders? Let's identify them. Leaders are people who love the oils and want to share them. They're mission driven. They have an entrepreneurial mindset. They're well networked, clear communicators, trustworthy, influencers, and coachable. And knowing your personality type and your team members and leaders' personality types can save you a lot of confusion and heartache down the road. So if you're not familiar with Connie Podesta, there's the website there. You may want to check out her shapes profile. It's really interesting. She has some great YouTube videos, and doTERRA actually had her speak at our convention a few years ago. They always bring in such amazing speakers, and actually it was our leadership conference where she spoke. And that was amazing. They always get some great speakers for our events, for leadership and for convention as well. So if you're not familiar, you'll probably pick the right shape just based on which one appeals to you. It's always really funny. So think about the shapes: square, triangle, circle, and squiggly line. Those are the 4 shapes. And we'll talk about what each one is, but a lot of people pick the right one just based on which one appeals to them. And this is not to say all of these things will apply to you, but if you are a square, you are most likely detail-oriented, dependable and responsible, organized, a bit stubborn, quite analytical, logical, like to work alone. And just some tips: if you are a square, you need to have more fun. You need to be more open to change and just let people know what you need, because you're very direct, and that will help you a lot. Triangles. You are most likely really focused on the bottom line. You hate to lose. You're very confident, can be outspoken, like to take charge. You're self-motivated, a bit impatient. And some tips for triangles would be to relax more, slow down, give others a chance to lead, and realize, not just realize, but even admit when you're wrong. Circles. Love the circles. I love to do this in a live group because it's so much fun. People raise their hands and stand up. That's me. And then everyone's laughing. So circles, you love to laugh and have fun. You take things personally. You're empathetic and compassionate. You want to fix everyone. You struggle with setting boundaries. You hate conflict. You often overcommit. And some tips for you would be learn to say no without guilt. You are not responsible for people, only to people. And then finally, the squiggly line. This is the person who's like, I don't like any of these shapes because I don't like to be labeled and I don't like to be inside a little box. So, or squiggly lines are people who like to be around fun people. They adapt easily to change. If you're a squiggle, you get bored easily. You are the idea generators, always thinking of ideas. But that does mean you can be unorganized. And you often speak before you think. And you may like attention a little bit. So some tips for squiggles. Whoops, I noticed that's spelled wrong right there. Listen first. Focus on the topic at hand. And sometimes we're a combination of more than one of these. I know I personally am mostly triangle, but there's a couple of things in there that are not me at all. And I know a lot of people will find different pieces of these, but a lot of times you're mostly one and maybe you have a little bit of the others, and the tips are likely quite helpful for you to kind of think about. And then, think about how valuable it would be to know this of your leaders and your team members as you grow your team, just to know what makes them tick. Something else I really enjoy helping my leaders work through is Strengths Finder. It's a great tool. It helps you discover what makes you unique and powerful. And there are themes categorized in 4 what they call domains of strength: executing, influencing, relationship building, and strategic thinking. And knowing your strengths and how to maximize them is empowering. So I love that this teaches us to focus on our own unique strengths rather than focusing on weaknesses. There's a website there where you can take an assessment and you'll get an ebook with that to help you understand the strengths. And there are ways to work through that as teams as well. But it's important to know yourself first, I feel. So next, presenting the business opportunity. And this does not have to be a big, complicated, long drawn out presentation. Are you thankful that someone told you about doTERRA's business opportunity? If so, don't skip this. And don't get in your own way and don't think you have to know everything. Just ask a simple question like, are you open to the idea of generating income or creating income with doTERRA? Keep it simple. We have no reason to be afraid to offer this. It is a gift, isn't it? It is truly a gift, and we can't control if someone says yes or no, but we can offer it and let them know how exciting and wonderful it is. Maybe it's not the right time for them. Maybe they need more information, but that's okay. Don't let that stop you from asking the next person because it is something that's too good to keep to ourselves. Leadership training. Let's talk about mentoring first in this section of leadership training. What is mentoring? A mentor empowers a person to see a possible future and believe it can be obtained. So really the best mentors just ask great questions and they listen really well. They will offer guidance as needed, and then they pour belief and encouragement into the other person. Doesn't that sound rewarding? Does that sound hard and difficult and painful? People think of mentoring as such a painful thing. A lot of times the person being mentored really does know the answers. Not always, but there are certain types of questions. They know the answers and they just need to talk through it and work through it and be encouraged and have their belief built up. And I know that you can do that for someone else. If you struggle with mentoring a team member, you can try something as simple as this. Just pick a time to talk weekly, find out your builder's goals, decide together each week the 3 things that person needs to do in the next week to work toward those goals. So very practical. And then ask that person, what's your part? What's my part? That's just letting them know you're in this together. So most of it's going to be them, but you might have a role in it. You might have a way that you can help, and be willing to do that. Be really in it with them. Let them know we're in this together. You're not alone. So you're not there to hold their hand or do it for them, but you are there to do your part as their business partner. Anytime that builder isn't doing their part, let them know, I'll keep running with you as long as you're running. I'll keep my foot on the gas if you keep your foot on the gas. But if you take your foot off that gas pedal, I'm forced to take my foot off the gas too. It's kind of like being a co-pilot, and the car is really run by, or the plane or whatever the vehicle is, by the driver, by the main pilot, and you're there to support. But if that person stops driving, you can't drive it for them. And just kind of let them know, I'm here to run this with you. I'm right here beside you. But if you slow down or you stop, then I'm forced to slow down or stop as well. And we need to reevaluate your goal or your activity if those are not lining up. If your activity is not lining up with the goal that you set, that's my job, is to help you reevaluate, not to force or to push you to do something you don't want to do. But I don't want you to have unrealistic goals, and I don't want you to not have the right amount of activity to meet your goal. So let's evaluate and see if we need to adjust one of those. And just repeat that weekly until the person reaches their goals or hits diamond, whichever comes first. And all along the way, too, you can evaluate if weekly is still needed or even desired. If that person does slow down, don't waste your time, or really even their time. Maybe for some people, every other week or once a month is enough. But someone who's really on fire, going gangbusters, they probably need a little bit of weekly encouragement and guidance, and just a reminder that they can do this. And my message to you is, you can do this. You can be a mentor. And no matter who you bring into the business, you've been in it longer than they have. Even if it was, I don't care if it was 1 minute, you signed up 1 minute before your first enrollee, you've been in it longer, you know a little bit more, you know how to enroll, and they don't yet, so just keep that in mind too. You don't have to know everything, but just staying a step ahead and helping those under you and who come after you learn is your role. You also have to develop conversational skills as a leader. And when we have opposing opinions, strong emotions, stakes are really high, it might be time for a crucial conversation. My personality type is such that I do not like conflict. I've always avoided conflict. I'm a peacemaker. 2 of my top strengths are harmony and relator. And so I'm always trying to find the middle ground and the compromise and keep the peace. And I've had to learn through this business that there are times when I'm going to have to be a little more willing to enter conflict, but also to know how to navigate that I needed to develop the skills and the understanding to go into these conversations. So a great resource is Crucial Conversations. It's a great book, and there's some other tools that go along with it online. And recently, I also attended a seminar where the speaker gave a really simple 5-step outline for a crucial conversation, for basically a conflict resolution process. So first, she said, just ask in a non-threatening way, hey, can I run something by you? So that sounds really non-threatening, right? Or she said, can I check something out with you? But I kind of liked, can I run something by you? And then first, you will just say, I notice. So you're sticking to the facts there. And then say, I interpret that to mean, so this is how it appears to me, and this is what I think it means. 3, which makes me feel, just be really honest, but keep it simple. And don't do this if you're super emotional. It's like I tell my 7-year-old, and he's better about it now, but when he was littler, he used to get angry and just see red, and he would start swinging. He'd just start punching anyone who was around him, or kicking or something, if he didn't win or if he thought something was unfair or whatever the case was. So we had to start to teach him that he needed to go by himself into a safe space until he could cool down. And of course, that wasn't appropriate behavior. But if someone has made you angry, wait until you've cooled down and calmed down. You won't be able to have a logical, good conversation with someone if your feelings are running so high at that time that you are going to potentially exaggerate things. And so you want to be honest, but you want to keep it simple and remain calm. 4, then just ask, is my interpretation of that correct? And then listen. Just really stop right there and listen to what they have to say and don't interrupt them. Then you need to come to a resolution and say what I need from here on out. These are the ground rules from my perspective, and get agreement on that. So the example that I gave that night was kind of silly when I first presented this, but it's just a silly example, but at least gives you an idea. So if I walked in the room and I saw Andrea Gapmeyer, who's our regional sales manager, who was there for that event in Raleigh, and I know she kind of knows who I am. We've had several exchanges in person and on the phone, and I know she recognizes me when she's talking and greeting people, and I think I'm kind of important. I'm one of the speakers there, so she should kind of notice me, and I might even need something from her. And I walk in and she's talking to other people, and I catch her eye and kind of start to walk up close to her and smile and wave a little bit. And she seems to look right at me and turns her head and starts talking to someone else, and just seems to turn her back on me, doesn't want to talk to me. And I take that personally, and later say, hey, Andrea, can I just run something by you? After I've, calmed down or gotten over my hurt feelings, and say, I noticed when I walked in here tonight that I tried to catch your attention and say hello to you, and you seem to look at me, but then turn away very quickly and turn your back on me. And I interpret that to mean that either maybe you're upset with me, or maybe you don't like me. And that just makes me feel like I'm not valued, or that I did something wrong. So is my interpretation correct? And then just allow time for response. And I gave 2 examples. One response might have been, oh my goodness, Crystal, I'm so sorry. I was so busy and talking to so many people, and it's such a crazy day. I had an early morning flight and I'm tired. It's nothing personal. I'm really sorry. Please forgive me. It was not intentional. At which point, I could just say, okay, I forgive you. I'm probably being overly sensitive. It's that time of the month and I need some Clary Calm or something. Or I could say, okay, that's great, but maybe in the future what I'll need is to have a chance to meet with you in advance when I'm speaking in an event, just so I can make sure I get my questions answered before all the people start showing up. Or her response to me could have been, after, is my interpretation correct, could have been, yeah, actually the last time we spoke, you did upset me. Something that you said or did really hurt me, irritated me, whatever. And then we would have a different conversation going forward, where I'd be the one potentially apologizing and saying, I didn't know that. Let's talk about this and set some ground rules moving forward so that we can work through this and have a good relationship in the future, and a good working relationship. So you can see through this too how crucial it would be to know people's personality types, to understand a little bit about their characteristics and their strengths. Because it makes a lot of sense when you run it through that filter that something that upsets another person that would never upset you, or vice versa, it's because we communicate differently. And part of recognition also is, part of leadership, I should say, is recognition. So we want to recognize others. We want to let them know that we care about who they are and how they like to be recognized. So recognizing everyone the same way can be good in some formats, like mentioning rank advancements on Facebook or something like that. But a part of recognition also is understanding what makes your leaders feel appreciated, how they like to be recognized. And The 5 Love Languages is a book that really helped my marriage, but there is a separate concept that's the 5 Love Languages of Appreciation in the Workplace. And it sounds so interesting to me, as something I've looked into, but I haven't taken the assessment or read the book yet. I found out about it and started really thinking about what that means to me. So you can take the appreciation test at the link. It's just 3 questions. It's important to do this even if you know your love language, because oftentimes it's really different from what your love language would be in a personal relationship to what it would be in a workplace. So there's the link, and then if you purchase the book, you'll get a code inside to take the Motivating by Appreciation test. That's going to help you get a clearer picture of your primary language of appreciation and motivation, and tell you how you are not motivated and encouraged. So knowing that for the people you are leading could be really valuable, because maybe you're a big gift giver and you're giving gifts all the time, and every time you turn around, oh, this made me think of you, and you're giving them something thoughtful that, you think is so great. And that's not really the type of thing that speaks to them. What they really need is your words of affirmation. They don't need gifts. They feel more recognized and valued when you are giving them words of affirmation. So those are some ideas of how the love languages of appreciation in the workplace would work. All right, so incorporating that into your business, any of those really, the Strengths Finder, the personality shapes, or the love languages, it would just be knowing and utilizing that language for your 4 qualifiers that you're working with to, you hope, qualify you for Diamond one day, your frontline leaders, and any other enrollees whom you have in various positions on your team, but you still have the enrollment for. So just looking at those key positions, those key people, and starting with them to know their strengths, know their love languages, and their personalities. Any tool really that you're using to discover more about your builders that would apply to. So once you learn the mindset and the skill set pieces, the tool set is really quite simple. It's the easiest part. Our tool set in this business is having a duplication system. So Share Success is a great one. Edge Success is a great one, but doTERRA will be and is incorporating Share Success now into what it offers through back office. It has actually acquired the company called Share Success, and that's something that we will be able to benefit from, and having a lot of great tools provided to us directly from doTERRA. It's going to be amazing. So having a system that you can duplicate, and then reading good books, or at least listening to good books and good podcasts, so that you're putting that into your mind and starting to live that out, because leaders are readers. These are a couple of great books to start with if you're not sure where to start. I love anything by John Maxwell, and then The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is great as well. You can offer support to your team in a lot of different ways, live, of course, via Zoom, like we're doing here, on Facebook, just to name a few of the ways. The point there is to stay in contact and keep communication lines open, but still within those boundaries that we talked about, that we all need to be healthy and to stay sane, really. So the 5 main skills that we talk about in this business are prepare, invite, present, enroll, and support. So those are the 5 main skills that we teach and we duplicate and just continue to pay forward to our team members, continue to teach and to train others to do. We learn them ourselves. We learn how to prepare. We learn how to invite. We learn how to present the information about oils. We learn how to enroll people. We learn how to support them. And then we teach others to do those things. So that's why I said the tool set is relatively simple. So the challenge I have for you is to choose to influence your team over controlling them. Choose to raise your team members' self-confidence instead of rescuing them. Choose to focus on teaching the 5 main skills that I just mentioned: prepare, invite, present, enroll, and support, over doing those activities for others. So we want to focus on income producing activities, but we want people to be doing them for themselves. We don't want to be doing them for others. And then choose to lead from a place of trust rather than fear. I want to close by sharing a few photos that show how learning to empower my team gave my family the freedom to do something amazing. And that was experience time freedom, travel the country, and then even this year, fulfill a dream to go on a co-impact Healing Hands trip to Guatemala with doTERRA. It was so amazing to have these experiences the last couple of years. And I do truly attribute being able to do this to empowering leaders on my team, instead of thinking I needed to stay in North Carolina and do things for other people and enable them, when really stepping away and empowering them gave them the self-confidence and helped them to become who they needed to be so that they could lead their own teams. And I still came back often. We would spend weeks or months at a time in this area during those couple of years. You can see our map. We were all over the place. but we were back in North Carolina a lot. And that was to continue offering support, but at a different level and in a different way. And that's something I hope that you can see down the road for yourself, no matter how new you are in the business, no matter how maybe chaotic your business is at this point, that you can see that vision of having time freedom and just ask yourself, what can empowering others do for me and for my business? So all I can say with that is thank you, doTERRA. I hope we will all be inspired to empower others, to be empowered ourselves, and to make those choices that will lead us to what we got into this business for, which was time freedom, financial freedom, and different choices that we get to make because we have different options in our lives. Thank you so much for your time.